Hey everybody, it's Brad Linder back at you again with part 5 of Godzilla, the final piece to this puzzle. I've gone ahead here and laid out the base green, the base blue and the base green, so we can get this all done. It's nice and inked up. We're going to finish this lower part right here across the rib cage and this forearm, up the back here, and then I've got the spines and spikes down the back, which we're going to highlight. So bear with me just a second while I post this up with the channel and the page, and then we're going to knock this bad boy out and move on to the next piece that we've got laying to the side here. So bear with me just a second, and there we go. Cool and deal. Hey Jim, you made it, man. I hope you're feeling better, buddy. Oh, let's see. Is that Godzilla? Oh my goodness, you made it too. Cool deal. Been a while since I've seen you, man. I hardly ever get to see him on the show. A lot of people don't get to come on because I've been on so late lately. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get back to the better hours during the day. So you guys are gonna have to hang with me. Got a lot of new stuff coming out, and I'm working on the blog tonight right as soon this is done. So a lot of new updates coming up. You guys are gonna have to hang with me and see where it goes. But as I said, we're gonna knock this guy out and finish this up tonight. I'm gonna kind of go over some of these lighter spots and darken this back up because I didn't quite lay it as thick as I wanted to because I wanted to wait for the show for that. And then we're going to move right into the next step, which is going to be finishing this out, getting it all colored up, and getting it ready to go. And then we're going to highlight these spikes that he has on his back in the power charged up blue. And I haven't decided if I'm going to use the Copics for that or if I'm actually going to use the pencils. I don't know yet. I may get some feedback from the peanut gallery from you guys to see what's going on with it and what you think. So we'll go from there. But I'm kind of touching on these spots here, getting this nice and dark so I can go in and start shading this real quick and handling it. So we're going to step right in with the dark blue here. I have to see which one I needed. There it is. Make sure that's the right one. Because I want this to come off and I don't want it to go crazy on me. So I have to make sure I grab the right stuff. Now it's going to go that aquamarine color again, just like always, as it has the last couple of sessions. Because of this green and then this blue going in, kind of shading things up a little bit, adding some shadows here and there. And I'm going over each individual piece, as you guys see. So we got that going on. And I'm knocking out a ton of stuff today. Going to be moving into doing a little bit more of the side of marketing stuff now that I've got the book ready to go out for May. So we're ready to go on that. I've got the sketchbook almost ready, except for a couple more pieces, which I'm going to do over the next 2 weeks. We have 14 days left after today. So we're going to be hitting the 3rd with no problem. And then the sketchbook's going to come out. And we're still going to be doing lives and stuff. It's just I'm going to be doing a little bit more and changing the direction a little bit. We're into more of the comic stuff, okay? I still will be doing sketch cards and drawings like this, but I'm going to be moving towards more finished pieces and a lot more higher end stuff. So hopefully we won't have to worry about losing traction with that. But we'll see how it goes. Trying to keep everything nice and even here and not give it a hard line, because if you can see a hard line, then I'm not blending it in enough, and that's a bit of a problem. But with all these other colors going in, I don't see that being a problem at all because they grind down with no problem. So, but I'm just adding in some shadows here and knocking this out really fast because I'm going more at my regular speed right now, where I'm just kind of getting it in, getting it done, and getting it knocked out. And I love doing this stuff, and I really dig doing this at this high speed because then I'm able to get a lot more done for you guys to see. So the topic of tonight, I think, is going to be kept simple. It's just going to be having fun. I wanted to see what you guys think about the idea of making comics, and wanted to see what you thought about what I should be doing next in what you like to see in comics, because I'm an old-fashioned guy. I like to do hero versus villain type stuff and a lot of paranormal stuff and a lot of crime drama in my comics, and a lot of paranormal. So it gets into that kind of stuff. But I'm more in traditional heroes, unlike Marvel and DC. I do more traditional heroes that have a base foundation of hero versus villain. So, I mean, not necessarily DC style where they go dark and go crazy, but I like the idea of them being able to be defined and really have a position in the universe that I'm creating for my comics. But also, on that same note, I have a really a big soft spot for horror and other stuff. And I'm kind of curious as to what you guys are wanting to see in comics, because the mainstream in the U.S. has become, I'm going to finish this other part of this arm here in a minute, I didn't forget it, but the mainstream part of the U.S. for comic books has finally shifted to where it's doing more independent pieces that aren't just superhero stuff. It's primetime television type stuff. And it's really cool properties because it's not just superhero stuff. And I'm really digging that. However, television is going more into the superhero stuff and getting away from the primetime stuff. So whatever. But to each their own. But for me, I like to do a mix because I like to be entertained by all genres. And I don't like it when comics go off, I don't like it when any of it goes off on a tangent and goes completely, one way or the other, to where you can't enjoy it because of the fact that what's going on is nothing but just all drama or all, 100% full throttle action or full throttle sci-fi or full throttle horror, and I mean, if it's a scary movie, I'm all for that because I'm a horror fan, as you guys know. But same thing that I go for in anything that I read. If you go full throttle at it and you give me content that I'm digging on the topic, I'm good. But for an entertainment thrill, I'm kind of picky about that because I've seen everything. You know what I mean? And I hate to say that like I'm jaded, because then I'm what's that gonna bring for my own comics? But that's why I do comics, because I tell stories that I think I haven't seen yet, or I haven't seen in the last 20 or 30 years. And that impresses me to no end. It makes me very pleased and very happy. But as my journey goes along with this, I'm trying to overcome the monopoly that is out there for comics and the stigma that's out there for comics as well. That's a big problem. The industry is very, very isolated and very locked down. And it's a big problem where people don't get stuff going and everything's been postponed in one form or fashion. I'm grabbing another green here, bear with me. I see it all the time where everything goes off and, there's people all over the place saying, well, you can't do that in comics. You're killing my, you're killing my storyline, or you're killing my industry, or, I don't get entertained by comics because of superhero stuff anymore, or this, that, and the other. And it's always this bickering business to where we're trying to show each other up in the independent market. And, in internet marketing, I've been in comics way longer. But in the side of marketing, I find that I don't have to compete with everybody like that. I mean, it's more my own thing, and I've discovered along the way that comics are the same thing. It's that way with any business. You're your biggest competition to your own threat. And, that's the thing. You're the biggest competition to yourself. And, you're the biggest competition to being your own threat and locking yourself up where you can't function. And I've seen it happen countless times. And it's not about, fear of success. It's not about fear of this, fear of that. It's about confusion and focus, okay? It's about making the choice. It's all about making the choice. And I'm going to explain that in some upcoming stuff that I have going on. It's all about choices, man. And if you know how to make those choices properly, you're not going to ever have anything taken away from you. And you're going to be able to walk in and see people that you've never even met before and own that meeting in that room and whatever, But like I taught one of my students today, one of my good friends, it is all about being the conduit for the energy of the information and the media that you're expressing, and not so much about the heavy hand of trying to be you doing the sale. If you're worried about the numbers, other than the fact of the numbers that you want to make for your own plans and ambitions, that's a guideline, but it's not a rule, okay? And comics are the same way. If you want to tell a story, tell the story, but don't go off and try to get, 50,000 sales or whatever. Those are projections you'd like to have, but you don't need them. And if you're worried about sales in the entertainment industry, you may as well hang it up. And I'm going to tell you something funny about that. This is something that nobody pays attention to. Any entertainment field, you will hand yourself a death certificate instantly if you go after sales first. And I'll tell you something about that crosses over. Anything that's a luxury business, like, say, for example, collectibles or real estate or high-end car sales. If you go in looking at the numbers and you go in trying to make those commissions, which you have to make your living, but if you go in looking at them wholeheartedly as in everything, you're going to leave yourself high and dry. And you know why you're going to do that? Because of the fact that you're thinking about crunching the numbers for the money you have to make, instead of trying to convince someone to get a good home that fits their purpose. Does that make sense? I hear about that all the time. Or a good car that makes their purpose, or a good comic book that fits their entertainment venue, or like their store. Because I see comics that don't fit stores now because they're getting themed. I walked into a horror comic book shop the other day, and it cracked me up to no end. I was just like, really? That's all you guys do? And he was like, yep. I was like, okay, man, whatever. But that's the way it goes, And that was here in the city. And I found it very fascinating at that, because of the fact that when the guy came up to me and said, hey, man, you need to come over and check out the store, I was like, okay, I'll come take a look. And I did. And being a horror buff, I fell in love with the place. I mean, cracks me up to no end. Hey, Jackie, glad you made it. I'm glad you made it too. Oh, I dropped the pencil off the table. But I found it, extremely amusing, because of the fact that when I got in there and saw it all, I was like, really? I mean, I was mind blown by that. Now this one down here, because there's more shading on this, I'm going to give this a high soft green. It's a bright green, and I just want to mute this just a little bit before I get into some of this heavier stuff, because there's a lot more light hitting this, and I want to make sure that it's saturated. So I'm going to do the same thing with the hand, which is a little bit darker tone because it's a different skin. But anyway, yeah, I went into the horror store, and I had a blast in there for a few minutes, And then this guy comes out and tells me, hey, man, I need to see you come on and check out blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whatever. So I went over and checked it out, and he wanted me to check out a section of the store, and I did, and it was great, and, cool, whatever. But then on top of that, there was this big thing where I saw that he wasn't making any sales from this one department and the superhero stuff on his sales floor. And the reason he wasn't making his sales is because of the fact that his heart wasn't in it, and he was all about the numbers. And he figured just because he was a comic shop that he could have all those, the horror stuff in there, and then have those particular regular sale books for it. And nobody was buying the regular stuff from him. They were buying the unique items that he had in the store, because he niched himself as a horror store. And, that's what he targeted his business for, so that's what everybody was buying. And he was about to lose his lunch. They were about to come and take it away, is what I mean. He wasn't going to get sick. I'm saying that he wasn't going to get sick. What I'm saying is that he was about to lose the lunch that he had on the table, because someone was about to come take it from him. And that was because he couldn't afford to do anything anymore. So I helped him out with that. And that brought me to this point today, to where I'm just like, man, everybody that comes along focuses so much on the numbers they forget, you know, the math is a good part of it, and it's a master plan position. But the problem is that people just go along and they don't choose to make the sale before they go into it. You know, they just don't. And I see it all the time, especially in comics and in marketing both. You know, there's so many people that come along and, you know, I can't sell a comic. There's nobody seeing my comic. Well, if no one's seeing your comic, the first question you need to ask is it in front of them? You know? And 9 times out of 10, it won't be. And I'm trying to rough this up here so these lines show and not be smooth. But yeah, it's just one of those things where people get in there and they say, okay, I'm gonna make a comic book, and then they push and push and push and push and push, but then they don't push for the marketing to get it in front of people. You know, they tell people, hey, it's here, and they expect people just to jump on it and go, hey, you got a comic, yay, cool, you're the best guy in the world, and we're going to give you money and women and all this cool stuff. And, you know, they don't fawn over you. Same thing with internet marketing. If no one knows you're there, it doesn't matter how good of a mousetrap you have. No one's going to know to come get that mousetrap from you. I hope that makes sense, because that's the truth of the matter. Now I'm going to go in and put in this olive color, and then I'm going to put in the bronzer. Matter of fact, I think I'll put down the copper bronzer first. That way it doesn't handicap the olive that goes over it. And I'll start down here on the knuckles. Popping in those highlights real quick. And I'm going to do the nails here offline. I'm going to do his claws offline, because I want to do them a hard stone gray, a greenish gray, and I want to make sure that they stick, and I didn't color them for a reason. So anyway, moving on, I see that kind of stuff all the time where, you know, people go, well, I've got this great comic book and nobody will buy it, or I've got this great ebook and nobody will buy it, or I've got this great package and nobody will buy it. Well, how did you market it? Where did you position it? You know, I mean, that's the number one thing in the world. What did you do to position it? And are you promoting it yourself, or are you promoting it as the product, you know, you yourself or the product itself? Which one are you doing? Because I see that all the time too. And I'm constantly telling people, don't try to sell yourself as the moneymaker for the comic book. Because if you try to go in it as, you know, I'm this great comic creator and it's all about me and me and me and me again and me again, you're not being the conduit that I was talking about. The energy is not flowing through you. The book's not flowing through you. It's not about that. It's about you at that point, and you're screwing yourself. Hand over fist, you're screwing yourself. So you got to keep that stuff in mind. Seriously. Because that's what's going on. If you're not selling something and you're not making a profit off of it, you're too busy trying to sell your ego, and you're not selling enough of the product itself. And it's like, well, how am I going to do it if I don't promote my book? You know, how am I going to do it if I don't promote myself? The thing is, don't promote yourself. Stop promoting yourself. Promote the book. Promote the product. Promote the client. Promote the piece. I see it all the time. And people just end up starving because of it. And they're like, I'm done with comics, or I'm done with marketing, or I'm done with this, and I'm done with that. And the reason is because they've already given up way beforehand because of the fact that they didn't go in and handle their business. And I love that, because then they come pay me to fix it. And I'm okay with that too. You know? And it's because they don't know what they're doing, and they've lost their way from the original concept, which was, I want to make the comic book and I want to sell it. Well, guess what? If you don't know what you're doing to sell it, you're not going to get it out there, because you're trying to sell you instead of selling the book itself. So shame on you. I mean, seriously, that's where it's at. And I see so many people do that all the time. Now I'm going to run across these ridges here with this, and like I said, cut in this olive color across the yellow here. And since it's going across every little piece, I'm going to make it kind of dominate through the panels here of the segments. and then I'll get into a couple of the individuals that need the prominent turn. But for the most part, we can make it run across these strips with no problem. But yeah, I see that all the time. You know, people talk about going to Comic-Con and not making any money. People talk about going into online businesses and not making any money. And they talk about going on, let's see, they go on Etsy and they go on Shopify and they go on all these other places and they say they don't make any money. The reason is because they haven't put themselves forward as the conduit to express the craft. They're so worried about the craft itself. They're worried about being the front person for the craft, and they're screwing themselves. And I mean majorly. They do it all the time. So that's why I'm keeping it simple on this topic, because if you have qualms or questions about this, this is the time to ask, because this goes universal for the followers of my marketing business as well as my art stuff. So, you know, if you got something to say and you want some advice on it, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out. But because that's one of the things that I want to do in the new direction, is to help people get what they want out of this stuff. But I'm not going to do it completely for you. I'll give you points and triggers and help you out. But, you know, the best I can, but you got to do the work. And that's the number one thing. You got to be present. So, because if you're not, then don't bother, because it's not going to work. So I hate to be blunt about it, but I actually don't, because that's the point. You know, it's all about production. And it's like I said the other night, you know, I hear about guys saying all the time about how, you know, they can't make a comic book, or they can't do this, or they can't write a novel, or they can't do their book, or they can't do their course, or they can't do their business, or they can't do their prints, or they can't do their sales. Why? Well, I guarantee you, if I look at your schedule, I guarantee it's because you haven't put in the work. It's not money. It's not time. It's not anything else except for the work. If you haven't put in the effort, you're not going to get it. Plain and simple. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news there, because most people like to be motivational and, you know, whatever. And I just want to be honest and blunt with you. And I'd rather be straight up, because I'm all about production and results. And you can ask anybody that works with me, plain and simple. I'm blunt as a spoon, because of the fact that it's not me not being nice, it's me being blunt, so that we can get moving forward with the stuff we need to, for you to have the information. And, you know, that is where I'm coming from with this, and that's how I do stuff. And when you see the stuff coming out on my blog, you'll know why it is the way it is and why it's as blunt as it is, because I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to shake the table a little bit, because I'm erasing some of this dust off so that I don't ruin the drawing here. So bear with me on that. And I'll clean this up when I'm done. I've got a dust eraser, a kneaded eraser. I'll go off and get all that off, because I've got nice green on the back of my hand now, but that's okay. So now I've got this going in. I'm going to put in the purple on these ribs. Enough about that topic for a little bit. Let's get back into this. I'm going to cut some of these out real quick, because I'm doing this rather quickly. So we got that going on. Now, you guys that are on with me, I want you to do me a favor. Post in the comments right now, if you're on with me, do you want Copic? I'm gonna do these in the traditional power up blue that Godzilla has. We can either do light Copics, or I can do it in pencil and finish it out completely. What do you guys say? There's 3 or 4 of you on live right now that I see. Go ahead and see if you can punch up and do it. Go ahead and say Copics or pencils. Come on, give me an answer. I'm making it interactive tonight. Hey, Jim. Hey, buddy. Mr. Jim O'Reilly made it on. Go punch up a Copics or a pencils for me, so I can see which way to color this thing, because I'm about to do it. I'm making an option here for everybody tonight, doing a live option. We're either going to color this with Copics, or we're going to color it with pencils, and we're going to do the power charged blue highlights that he lights up with. What do you say? I'm going to give it about another 10 seconds here, and then I'm going to decide if you guys don't. Because you either want to see the Copics or you want to see the pencils. Which one? Copics are the paint markers. Pencils are the pencils. Which one? Copics. Copics. C-O-P-I-C-S. Copics. Which one you want to see? I know Kevin's got an opinion. He's on. Hey, Kevin, which one do you want to see, man? You want to see Copics or pencils? I'm about to start. I'm going to count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm going to go both. Hey, Jim, he put on Copics. Cool deal. Okay. Jackie put in markers. Okay. We'll do a little bit of both. How about that? I'm going to add in a super light. This is a blue, a B 000. I'm going to put in a super light 000 here as a base coat. Very cool. That has an interesting contrast to it. I like that. In comparison to the pencils, it looks really, really sharp. I like that. So I like to go lighter on the outside, which I'm going to color in the whole thing, this super light blue. And then what I'll do is I'll go back in and color in the darker highlight blues around it so we can get, you know, the darker, richer blues in there. So we're going to get this 000 all the way out to the edge here for each of these. And I went over a little bit. Whoops. So I'll have to ink that down. Great. That's okay. These are very cool and very forgiving anyway, so I can go back over that line there. I ran over just a little bit, but that's all right. So I'm going to color this in real quick with this base coat, and then we're going to knock it out because the pencils will go right over, and so will the other colors with no problem. So I just have to decide which one I'm going to do, because once I put the leads down on the pencil, the page won't absorb the ink as well because it's a top coating. So, but anyway, I like to see these happen because with multimediums like this, because what ends up happening is you get a better, richer, livelier touch to it in the end anyway. So it's awesome. It's awesome. So I'm going to go right off there because I've got other spines going down that back side. Right here for the weight. So that's all Godzilla down here. Down the small of his back here where the heavier parts are. And boy, that brush tip is really bending. I'm going to rotate it. And we're almost there. So I'm going to move this over because this is a spot sheet under here. I'm going to go ahead and paint this out to the edge. Boom, done deal. Yay, yes. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to go right here to the edge like that. Ta-da. Yay. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to check on one or two more colors real quick. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do right against these black edges is I'm going to put in this great teal kind of color, which is a very bright, vibrant, bright blue. Kind of move it down here so you guys can see it a little better. And we have Godzilla coming to life here very quickly. Wow, that was a good choice, you guys, with these markers. These paints are coming off very well, very high end. And we go right in here, boom. Don't want to cross over the tip of that one, it'll make it look weird. Wow. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to highlight some of these and make it look like he's charging up. And there we go. Going to kind of thicken that one up a little bit. And then I'm going to come in with some of these core blues, some of these darker blues, which I'll use for the core of the spines, so that we can get some of the darkened stuff in there, the shadows and the richness coming up, where it looks like it's starting to charge up and glow and all that good stuff. And if it runs over just a little bit, don't worry about it when you do stuff like this. If it runs over just a little bit within, don't worry about it, because then it looks like it's charging over or reflecting off the backside, and you know, you can play that off 20 different ways without having to worry about it, especially in a piece like this. So, okay, getting that done, coming down the backside here, and boom, done deal. Yay. Got a couple more. I happen to be doing this at full speed, so it's going really quick. Okay. Now, if I was to do this whole thing all at once, I've got about 5.5 hours into this total. So, you know, start to finish, pencil, ink, and color. And it's an 11 by 17 piece, about 75, maybe 80% of the page. So, because it's going to have the black frame trim around it, and possibly a background when it's all done. And I'll have about 7 hours in it total if I do that. I haven't decided if I'm going to yet, but for the case of the discussion, I really like to knock these out, and I would have been able to do this in probably half the time if I hadn't have done it live. But you know, I hear people complain about production and speed and stuff. Do your own thing. You know, if you're fast, cool, knock it out. If you're not, that's okay too. Do your own speed. You know, I hear all the time about people talking about, hey man, you're too fast and you're killing my speed. You're killing my work speed. Well, what? You know, I have nothing to do with that. What? All the time. Just go at your own pace. Do your own thing. I know a lot of people that are a lot faster than I am. I know a lot of people that are a lot slower than I am. And, you know, I don't want to be beating anybody up about that, and I dang sure don't want to be beat up about it, you know. And I hear all the time that people are like, well, hey man, you know, you're too fast for this stuff, so you got to slow it down. And no, I don't. Speed up. If you want to compete with me and you want to make it a personal goal for yourself, speed up. That's awesome. But you don't have to compete with me. You really don't. I don't need you to compete with me, so don't do that. But anyway, so we're getting this in here, and it would have been, like I said, it would have been about 3 hours total if I'd have done it full speed. But I like to hang out with you guys and talk and do this, so that would be the reason why. But it's not bad for, you know, what I've got tied up into it so far. It's definitely not bad. I'm impressed with it, and I really enjoy it. And I'm hoping to get a lot more done as we go along. So we'll see how it goes. Got a little bit of a blue mark on that piece of his skin, which I don't care. I'll put a couple more in there because of the fact that I want it to look like it's reflecting off the backside anyway. So that's okay. See, I make mistakes work for me. You know, the normal would-be mistakes kind of thing, I don't freak out about that kind of stuff, you know, because it's going to work for me anyway. It's like, haha, I just make you count. I mean, I can't go crazy and go halfway across him or anything nuts like that, but I make, you know, the little overflow mistakes and stuff like that. Yeah, it happens. And it's funny how you look, if you look at these other, you know, if you look at great artists, you know, Rembrandt went over all the time on lines for the work that he laid out in his work. And it used to crack me up to read that stuff when I was a kid in school, because everybody was like, he's perfect, he's perfect. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? The dude's way off, way off, way off, way off. And I'm just like, well, whatever. But anyway, I don't want to do that one. I want to do this one. I'm trying to get another dark that's kind of fluid, but not super dark. And I'm going to show you guys a little cool trick about this. Whenever you're going with a cold color, use a light color, a warm color to contrast it within the cold color's range. And by that, I mean, what you do is you pull out these tines here from the spines on his back, and you pull out the flow of the color like this. And then when you're done, you go in there with like a purple or a pink or even a soft red and go right around the edge of it. Watch. I'll show you. It's going to be awesome. And it'll make it look highlighted because of the fact that it's going to jerk it up red real quick. It'll add some warmth to it. Because I bet you guys never would have thought purple would have worked in here, right? But it did it not? It really did. So that's where we're at right now. Well, I appreciate it, Jackie. I'm glad you're having a good time. So with this going on right now, I'm going to hit this almost like a flame type of thing. I'm going to brush it over here. Make sure everything's colored in, kind of, like I said, work off that center. And I'm not going to put one back there because it's too high. I'll go right back in here a little bit. Put one there. Boom, done deal. Okay. Now, I'm going to add these points here. Like I said, I'm just going to do this here in the center. And add it to that one side. Add it to that one side. And done, right? Okay, cool. Now we're going to go in here and do this very subtly. And I'm going to do this one with the pencil so that I don't jack it up. Yeah, that's the purple I want. And we're going to go right in here about halfway. And we're going to add this purple over like that. Just going to kind of blend it in just a little bit. Just like that. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull out the red and pink and maroon in his face. And it's going to pull out that warm color from his tongue and pull it down. And it's going to pop out those purples that are inside the detailing in here, and it's going to pop it all out. It's going to make it look very lively. Just a little bit in there, and it's okay if it shows pure purple. That's all right. It's not going to hurt anything. It's really not. So, and I like to break it up because the contrast of the pencil texture makes it look more organic as well, which I really dig. Okay, so we've got that going on. Putting some purple, some purple, and gotta add that on there, get that out. So now you see, I don't know if you guys can see it on this close-up or not, but you see how the vibrancy comes out, right? You see how it pops out that way and it brings it up. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go in the same thing with this hot pink. And I know that sounds nuts, but I'm going to go in with this bright pink first and see how it does. I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one I want here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put in some of this bright pink just in a light scribble across here, just kind of a light coat going across. Because by doing that, it adds the the contrasting heat, and it makes it look more like it's lit up. Okay. And again, this is just to flare out the color just a bit and add a little more vibrancy to it and make it look more alive instead of just being a dull white around it. And I can put some of that pink in here and bring these pieces out. Because it's like, he doesn't light up pink. No, but when the stone or the calcium of the tines lights up, you got to have some kind of contrasting color. Remember how I said before, I've said many, many times about you having to generate, as an artist, you have to generate false light for something to be seen and enjoyed sometimes. And by generating that light like this with this pink, it'll pull that blue and that purple together and make it really, really pop out. I'm going to catch this edge here so that it'll pull it all out. And by doing that, it makes the darker colors pop up. So we have that going on. And now we have Godzilla. It looks like he's highlighted, right? Now we need to do something really cool to make it contrast with his skin. And to make it, way you make it contrast is you go in and you put in just a little bit of this green yellow and just put it in random places, not really everywhere, just random spots, because it ties all his skin together like it's organic, like it's got a green base or a gray base to it kind of thing. And it makes it really light up without putting a weird trail around it or, you know, lighting it all up neon or CGIing it to death. So you don't have to do all that because you get that great color and vibrancy out of it. And a lot of people are freaking out because these colors are just weird together. But, you know, every color in the spectrum works with every color in the spectrum. That's why we can see it. So if it didn't, it wouldn't be like that. But there we go with that. Now, we need something else going on, which I'm going to grab. This is going to shock everybody. I'm going to grab a red, and I'm going to put a red in there, and I'm going to go one side right up against the black core center. Now the reason you do this, hey Todd, the reason you do this is because you show blood flow. If it's heating up, it's got a core to it, okay? And this just shows that it's organic. And I don't know why red works so well for that, but it does. As a core piece, it brings it all together, all right? It just seems to work for some reason. It just signs to human beings, it just signals heat. So I'm going right over that black stem there that I put in and making this little red line. I'm going to put it right there on the outside of that one, so it'll pull it. And there we go. Cool deal. Now see, that looks like it's lighting up. And there we go. Now I'm going to take, because I'm not sure how I'm going to do the background yet. I'm going to leave this open on the glow, but I'm either going to finish this up when I finish up this cloud tonight. I'm either going to finish up this and put off a nice blue glow off of it, or I'm going to frame it in and make it work. But I'm not sure yet, so I don't want to really mess this up. But in most cases, Godzilla has this going on. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in here because of the fact that I want to make it light up. And I am going to go ahead and do this, because I'll just put a cloud line around it or a white line around it if I decide to do anything else with the background. But for you guys, I want to go ahead and do this. He puts off this strange energy off of this. And what you do is you just swivel this brush tip in circles like this around it and add that energy field. So that'll add that going on. Like he's really charging it up. So we can have that going on. Okay. And now what I'll do is I'll go in with a little bit warmer blue. I want to do it with this one. And I want to do this with a pencil because I want to make it show up a little easier. So what I'll do is I'll use the grit of the pencil here as the core of the energy, like this, and we'll make this show up. All right. Now I can still do a background with this because, like I said, I can show this as a highlight, you know, kind of thing, and put the white off the way I need to. But this will show the energy field around without messing with it too much. Okay. And the way you do that is you put the darker color right in the center like this, and it'll pull it off because it'll make it look like it's hovering with a charge pulsing off of the spines. So now a lot of people will want me to go right up to the spine edge and make this all charged up and whatnot, but I like this to where it looks like it's glowing off of it and he's heating up rather than automatically spewing, because that doesn't give me the color radiance that I want. You know, it doesn't give it the beautiful spectrum and reach that I want it to have. So now I'm going in with this green just a little bit because that's his foundation color coming out. So I'm trying to make that pop just a little more like that and look a little more organic and energetic. Now I'm going to grab another shot of this purple here and very lightly, just ever so often, I'm going to pop in some of this purple. Not too much though, because I don't want to make it glow purple, because that's not what the energy is doing. Okay. And now I'll show you guys a really cool trick. These are called Kirby crackles. If you've never seen Kirby crackles, I'll show you Kirby crackles. I like to do them lightning style because this is energy coming out of him. So what I like to do is, you know, do it like this. First off, put these squiggles like that. A lot of people won't like to do that, but I do. I do. So I'm going to pop in these squiggles like this, where this stuff is coming up and kind of doing its thing. And that way it looks like it's resonating from him. So boom, done deal. Now, just randomly, I'm going to put in a couple of trigger spots like this. Randomly. And I'm going to have it fade off. In different directions and different scales, different sizes, hopefully different patterns. So we can get all this going on. Now he's kind of got this energy field around him where those spines are like this. And what comes up is a wash of the energy dispersing from him. So I hope you guys can see that. I'll hold it up here so you can get a clear shot. You turn the lamp here. There we go. See, you can get all that going on now. When it dries and I scan it in, it'll show up. So that's the little spots all over the place. That's the energy disbursement. So it'll be Kirby Crackle style. Now we have this dude, all of it finished. So I'm going to finish up these nails down here on the claws, and we will call it a night. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. I'll finish that up, and then I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. Let you guys go for the evening. I will talk to you tomorrow. As always, thank you for hanging out with me. One more step on this piece, and then I'll put the black border around it, and we'll go from there. And we'll decide what we're going to do. I'll surprise you guys with it. But anyway, as always, we have this planet for a little while. We have a great party going on for our generation. We have to leave it stocked up and ready to go for the next. So be sure and do your part. Take care. Love hanging out with you guys. Always a blast. As always, catch you later.